Welcome to Andy's Personal Development, the place for transactional conversations. During these conversations, we'll discover intentionality and clarity, and of course, purpose. Now, here is your host, Andy Anderson Charles. So, welcome to this edition of Transactional Conversations. I'm your host, Andy Anderson Charles from Andy Personal Development, and this is the place for transactional conversations, intentionality, clarity, and purpose. Today, as usual, we have an amazing guest for you, as this episode is entitled Get Anxiety Out of Your Way with Dr. Foojan Zeine. So let me tell you a bit about our guest. She is an international speaker, author, and a psychotherapist. She has her doctorate in clinical psychology and is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She has obtained a graduate certificate on the topic of human behavior from the Harvard Extension School. Her expertise is in intimate relations and addictive behaviors. She also has extensive experience in treating depression, anxiety, traumas, and domestic violence. Indeed, she has a plate full of accomplishments and achievements that I'm sure will help her to bring you her core competence to the fore today. So, without further let's welcome our guest, Dr. Foojan Zeine, live on Transactional Conversations. There she is. What an amazing smile you have. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Andy, with you and all of the people who are with us today. And then we'll hear our podcast later. So thank you for the invite.
Okay, great, wonderful. So, let me begin by asking you the $1 million question. When people hear the name Foojan Zeine, what do you want them to think about? What is the first thing that you want to come to their mind that really identifies you as your solo brand?
How to have a fulfilling life, how to live a fulfilled life, regardless of everything else that happens, as our journey of life moves on. Some people go through a lot of hardships. Some people go through, life just brings them issues to handle. So how they can become resilient regardless. And sometimes we have the gift that life just gives us a lot of great honey, that we can experience. And then we hit obstacles at one point and we haven't found our resilience at that moment. And the point is, we're here on earth to live, and let's make the best of it. That's what I want people to know.
Yes, yes, yes. So, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate that and we appreciate you. Tell us what makes your work and the stuff that you do to help the people that you help so unique and original. What makes it stand out?
I've gone through, obviously my formal education of being a therapist for almost 33 years. I've also side by side have been, a business coach, a life coach, and really moving people forward with their thoughts, with their vision and all of it. So from the spectrum of, raising with trauma, immigration, hardships, and, abuse, all the way to uh, going after your shining star. So I've experienced personally and, with many clients and going through many of the psychological processes, you know, sometimes we think, we feel, we experience with our body, we, kind of act and are in relationships. And the point is how to bring all of who we are into life, how to interact with each other how to take in the interactions of others and create this collaborative, beautiful relationship within ourselves, within the different parts of ourselves together, so that we could collaborate internally to be able to make the right decisions for ourselves, and then to collaborate with the people who are outside, which are we're always in relationship with, right? We're in relationship with our acquaintances, our parents, our children, our siblings, our friends, people we work with. So all day we are in some sort of a relationship. And
Yeah.
how to first come together as a united whole internally, that we're not going back and forth between our decisions and, punching ourselves and
Yeah.
criticizing ourselves, to bring that first into an alignment so that we can, as a whole person, collaborate in alignment with other people throughout the day as we're moving forward, so that we can create a fulfilling days, fulfilling life, and enjoy this life no matter what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the key that I bring
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
creating
You
this
seem
day.
to be big on actually just enjoying life. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. You seem to
Good.
be big on actually enjoying life. I've heard you mention it a couple times. What would you say to people who are struggling with different areas of anxiety and they actually need to get it out of the way so that they can find a path to enjoying this life, a true pathway to happiness?
When you share about anxiety, the part of anxiety is a very normal feeling. It's a part of us which shows up to protect us. All that anxiety says is, watch out.
Hmm.
Um, I want you to be resilient. I want you to know. I want you to have the information in how to take care of yourself. And I want you to trust yourself to be able to handle whatever is happening. And if you don't have the information, let's go get the information. This is what anxiety is telling us. A part of us saying, let's look at all the negative options that could possibly happen so that you're prepared. You're prepared about what to do. Now, anxiety is about unknown, because when we are afraid, there's a specific thing we're afraid of, at least we know what it is. But when we have anxiety, a lot of times it's unknown. We create this negative future of all the possible things that can be wrong. We put it up in front of ourselves so that we could find if and then. If this happens, I can do this, I can do this. So it's more about how not to fight with that emotion and feeling that's showing up, that actually embrace it and make it to go from our body into our cognition and look at. So one of the things that we do is like, let's do reality check. Let's actually sit down and say, what is it that I do know? What is it that the skills that I do have in order to, handle whatever is in front of me? Is there a way to get that more information about how to handle it? And then come back and look at, okay, how much have I lived? I've survived a lot of the days that everything was unknown, right? Like every morning we wake up, we're in the midst of unknown. And somehow we pass through all of those unknown with what we do know. And, we handle every day and moving forward. So having the ability to trust my skills as I face any unknown that shows up in front of me. And that way I can calm myself and come back with my awareness, alertness, and deal with the outside of me. When anxiety shows up, I'm dealing with the horror I'm making inside of me. So it's more like, let's trust that I have that information anytime I need it. It shows up for me. Now let me look at outside and figure out how to deal with whatever is showing up, learn from it, and enjoy it. I'm not saying enjoyment means fun and party all the time. It means that even if I'm learning a task, even if I'm, diagnosed with a particular illness, that I start learning from it. I start talking to people who are going through it. I can live, Andy, here if I can clear the internal part I can live here in relationships. Every time we are dealing with relationships, real relationships, we can have, we can experience being human. And my point is, can I enjoy being experiencing being human, even if it has its ups and downs, right? So even if I'm sad, can I
Yeah. Yeah.
experience the sadness and share it with you? And in that sharing, there's going to be a enjoyment. Does that make sense?
Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I understand what you're saying. And everything boils down really, to, in a tremendous way, to mindset, how someone decides to approach and deal with the situation, even though it may not appear to be in your favor. But then look at the evidence and see what evidence outweighs which evidence, and then make that decision that you are still going to have enough information, if you can get enough, to enjoy the process. And then it becomes meaningful and valuable to you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So tell us about the awareness integration theory. What is it all about, and what prompted you to discover something like that?
The theory comes with three components. The first component, as the name says, is
Mhm.
awareness, right? We are pretty much the one and only
Right.
species that has the ability to become aware of ourselves, right? We're conscious not only about outside of ourselves, we have this ability to monitor inside of ourselves. So, we have thoughts. We have 60,000 thoughts per day that they come and go. A lot of them are just automatic. They just shoot up, right? There are specific thoughts that we connect to, we hang on to. We don't hang on to 60,000 thoughts that are showing up. We kind of have a pattern of creating certain ones that are automatic, and we have a pattern of hooking on to specific ones. So we want to watch and become aware of what are the themes of our thoughts. Is it mostly negative? Is it mostly positive? Do we rationalize? Do I have a lot? Obviously, I have a lot of opinions. Do I generalize these things? And then, there's emotion that shows up the minute we are faced with anything from outside of ourselves. Our emotions are basically our instincts that are keeping us survive, like move away from something, move forward with something. To acknowledge those emotions, the feelings that show up based on our thought processes, to acknowledge it and also watch how we behave, right? So our thoughts, our emotions create behaviors, and those behaviors impact our relationships. So the ability to become aware, responsible, and accountable for my own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in any type of relationship, it starts giving me power. It takes me away from victimization that the world happens to me and I have no possibility of doing anything, except just kind of like moving along with what the world does. This way, I feel empowered when I am aware of how I think, the patterns of thinking, my feelings, and how I can experience them as messages. Our feelings are giving us messages. Do this, don't do this, go forward, don't go there. This one is dangerous. Listen to those feelings and then release the ones that they're no longer, we got the message. Now we could just release it from my body. And then intentionally
Yeah.
act
Yeah.
and behave in a way that I want to create my world to be. This particular angle, which creates an empowerment and accountability for us. And then I could start looking at how I am in my different areas of life, right? We all play roles. As a professional, we put on a different hat. My role as a wife, as my role as a sister, as my role as a child of my parents, as a role in somewhere, my profession as a psychologist. Every one of these roles, I have a different belief system, a certain value system, and a certain behavior in a role. I might do an amazing skill in one role and then not bridge the skill to another place. I don't know if you or anybody has experienced sometimes, we learn how to communicate so effectively at work. And then we go to our parents' home and that whole the way of communicating goes out the door. So we see that we learn different skills in different areas of our
Yeah.
life and how we could bridge those so we could be effective in all areas and kind of become aware, who do I become in every single area of my life, and how I can bring a certain value system
Right.
and commitment to anywhere that I want to be. Within this process of awareness, Andy, we can become aware of some of the negative beliefs that we've picked up since childhood, growing up, learned it from our community, our families, our parents, based on our experiences, maybe the hardships. We've created some um, limiting beliefs or about ourselves or the world that as we want to go along, it keeps holding us back. So then, through a process of integration, we go back and kind of unify those different parts of ourselves that couldn't handle it, felt powerless at sometimes, felt vulnerable at sometimes, and kind of like got separated from our wholeness. And they're kind of like sitting in some, the different universe or a closet. To go back and bring them, kind of like heal ourselves from some of the childhood traumas or some of the beliefs that got stuck. So this process heals us back into a whole. And then choosing who I intend to be. Like, I get to be who I say that I want to be. How do I do that? I pick certain values that I say, this is how I want to live by. Like, if I say, I don't want to lie, I want to be honest, that's a value system that I first hold and then I behave toward it, right? Not that every second we don't get the opportunity to choose, I can lie out of this and it might be to my benefit, or I can be honest and can have some benefit or
Yeah.
consequences. But if I choose that value system that I want to be transparent and honest, then I get to choose to be that every day. If I say I want, I intend to be loving, I'm sure the universe will bring hell of a lot of ways in front of your face for you to practice not being loving or be loving. So these becomes, okay, how do I intend to lead?
Yeah.
I can create values for myself and commitment, and every day test myself against those limits and choose those commitments to be better as I say to be better. And whomever is there, they'll choose how they want to live, that they say, I'm proud of myself, right? So for example, if I say something, I'm not holding the anxiety, what if I'm found out? Because whatever I do, and this is something I tell my clients always, do the things that if tomorrow it's absolutely all over newspapers and media, that you could say, yes, I proudly said that and proudly did that, and feel good about
Yeah.
how you come
Yeah.
across. So from there, then we can envision the world, how I intend to be, set my goals in every area of life, and create plan of action, create support systems and structure for me to live that intentional life, and have the ability that if a part of me shows up again as anxiety, as depression, as limiting belief, that I have the skills to go process, reunite myself around those types of value system, become intentional, and move forward. That to me is what I call a fulfilling intentional life.
Wow. I felt that we were in school there. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. That was good stuff. You mentioned the term limiting beliefs a couple times in your explanation, and I'm wondering how important is it for people to overcome traumas of the past and to find a way to go forward, because many a times I see people are caught in the past, situations that were traumatic to them, unresolved relationships, unresolved patterns with people, that kind of thing. And it creates a certain level of doubt for them going forward. How does your system help them to clear up that which was in the past, that they can move past the trauma and now create a new, better neural pathway for themselves going forward?
Thank you for asking that question. It is so important for us to become aware of those, because Neuroscience says to us that we barely live consciously. We're consistently living subconsciously and unconsciously. How does that happen? Is because, our brains
Yeah.
are created in a
Yeah. Yeah.
system that we get overloaded by a lot of information all the time. So what do? Our brain has the capacity to gather information and then make some decisions around it and then put it in the coding. So it codes and puts it in the coding. And then when you code it from the minute you were even in your mother's womb, you were capturing and making a decision. This world is safe. No, no, it's not safe. This person is safe. No, it's not safe. Oh, you better do this to become better and get attention. Oh, you better not do this to get attention. So we create these formulas and codings since the minute we are conscious, even in our again my mother our mother's womb, and these codings are written, and then we operate even without consciousness from these codings consistently. And then we keep wondering, why is my life going this way or the other way? So, part of the ability to live consciously and not just subconsciously, kind of coming and moving forward, is the ability to become aware of our coding. So if we see that these codings work for us, moves us forward, awesome, let's keep them. But if they're not working for us, we need to recode. We need to actually shift those belief systems. So the first thing is how to become aware. So how do we become aware? Based on our results. Like if I say I want this and then yet it doesn't show up for me, yes, it's me living with the world. I don't make everything around myself and the world. It's my collaboration between me and life. But the way I enter life, the way I react to life, it is part of what I can shift. So I watch when things happen, how do I react to them? And then based on my reaction, I can start looking at what coding am I creating this reaction from? Am I reacting the way that this life works for me and I can move forward with my relationships and whatever it is that I want? Or my reactions are stopping me or holding me back? So then I look at the thought process behind these reactions, and those are when the beliefs show up, right? These beliefs, then, there's a system in the awareness integration that through your body, because our bodies hold the memory and if beyond our cognition, through our body, we go back to the
Mhm.
original time we made up these things. Most of our coding we've created is between infancy and 7 years of age. We do another level of coding around teenage years of becoming adult. But most of us, those major decisions that we've made up for our life has been in our childhood. And so we go back to those memories and look at what was the circumstances and what were my skills at that time that I made this decision for myself or the world. And
Mhm.
in that process, we integrate who you are today with all the skills you have, with all the achievements you have, toward that part of you which did not have, like a 2-year old, 3-year old, 6-year old just faced something and they felt powerless. They had no skills. So the best that they could, react at that time was how they did it. The point is that if I'm here today, I survived those times. There was also a resiliency. There was strategic thinking at that moment that made me pull through. So in this process, I want to find out, who am I as a resilient person? What kind of skills do I already have that has pulled me through every single scenario? And to become aware of those. And then share with those different parts of me that we have all of these skills right now. Like, I don't have to be vulnerable and I don't have to be powerless, and come back to my resilient self and to embrace that part and kind of integrate that part. And if that belief doesn't work and I've watched it through my life, I have evidence that I've handled something else similarly in a positive way, I can kind of open the lens and look at all of it. So, yes, I might have been powerless when I was 5 years old, when
Mhm.
my parents were fighting and I said the world isn't safe. That I can also look at, at all the, 63 out of all the 63 years, where were all the times that I was powerful and how I handled it, and bring these two together so that I can have an all encompassing experience of my lifetime experience. And to bring those parts of me together where I can come in from my power. Not that we constantly every day feel our powerless and unknown factors and things we're flabbergasted, but we move forward with our skills, not our vulnerabilities. We embrace our vulnerabilities, but we move forward with our power. If I have a wounding in my left leg, I'll acknowledge it. I love it. I'll heal it. I'll take care of it. But I got to move with my right feet for a while. I got to go with a strong leg first in order to move forward until the left one heals for me. And that's what we want to do also with our psyche. We want to find by evidence, not just, empty words, I'm this, I'm that. No, we want to go to our own life by evidence and see every time I've survived, every time I made it through, every time that got me to be here, what were the skills and strategies that this brain, this body made a decision that I'm still surviving and alive. I want to code those. I want to code every single power and resilience that I've used and live based on my power and resilience while I acknowledge my vulnerabilities all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. Dynamic. Superb. Superb. I love it. I love it. Let's switch gears a bit and look at the writing. I want you to start with intentional parenting. Tell us about that particular publication.
The book Intentional Parenting started with me and two other colleagues. One is Dr. Manukian, who is her work is in early development. So she works specifically with infants all the way to a 10-year-old. And she has created this daycare based on the awareness integration, where we're also not only doing a reflective going back, but we brought this model into an educational model where you don't have to become 30 years of age before you turn around and say, what did I do in my life, right? So we wanted to bring this to children and teach them as, as young as 1 year old or a 2 year old. How do you think? How do you feel when you have a lot of feeling? How do you experience that feeling? Come back, calm yourself, regulate your emotion. What is your intention? What do you want to create? And then do that. Like, they can behave toward whatever it is they want. If they want their friend to play with them and they want to share the toy, well, how do I talk to my friend so I can, share my toy or ask for my toy? So we're starting to give the skills to children, and you'll be amazed. In this daycare, there's 14 children from infancy all the way to 6. And these children actually are amazing in relating to each other, and they've learned how to handle their own emotion. Who knew a 2-year-old could regulate their own emotion? But when we give them the skill, even a 2-year-old starts regulating their emotion, calming themselves down, seeing what do I want and how do I go about communicating that appropriately so that I can, get a higher percentage of what I want. And if I don't want it, or if I can't get it, how do I calm myself down? So this is one angle. The other person who is with us, Dr. Jafari, she's been an educator for, child development all the way through adulthood. So the three of us got together and wrote Intentional Parenting. So it has, every single chapter is dedicated to a particular age group, because each age has its importance developmentally, and telling the parents, grandparents, teachers how to deal with that age group with what's necessary. And the most important factor is teaching the child how to become, again, aware of their thought process, emotional process, and how they behave and act toward each other, toward their parents, toward their peers. And this supports the parents in how to be able to do that. Imagine a life where you can be intentional all the time. You could look at what happens, you could see how you're reacting, you can come back and see what do I want, and you can look, take your skills and to behave in a way that you can get what you want. And if you capture that I don't have the skills, you don't make it about yourself that there's something wrong with me or I'm bad, that's why it's happening. It's just I don't have the skills, and let me learn the skills so I can go find out what the skills is and then do it. So it takes away from all of these negative meaning that we make it about ourselves. Like the minute we're powerless or we don't get what I want, then I make it as something's wrong with me versus I just don't have the skills yet. I'm okay. I'm capable.
Mm.
Handle this. All I need to know is learn the skills to do it and then practice the skills. So we brought the skills to parents, teachers, grandparents, whomever is participating in raising our next generation, not only to do this work with themselves, but also as a proactive model of education to bring it to children as they're, kind of growing them in school systems or family systems.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Wow. It is one of those things that I feel it looks more like a manual, and it sounds like something that a lot of people should really gravitate to if they're having challenges with regards to parenting. It's like a handbook that delivers information with specifics in terms of how to be intentional about the parenting and practical steps to deal with the challenges that comes with parenting. And as you say, at all different levels, grandparents, great grandparents, maybe you might be an aunt that's parenting or maybe an uncle that's parenting. It works for everybody. So wonderful. Sounds good. Thank you for sharing, Dr. Fujan. What does the future look like for in your company and the things that you're doing with regards to your core competencies being there to assist the clients that you're doing going forward? What does it look like for your company in the future?
What we've done, because of the research we've done in many of the clinical work, we found that people who are being treated by this theory, as in the therapy setting and in clinical, reduce their depression 75%, reduce their anxiety 67%, raise their self-esteem and self-efficacy, and their self-satisfaction through life. And then we also did this as a
Yeah.
self-help model into universities. And even with just self-help and not having a coach or a therapist, we still got high marks of 68% minimization of depression and anxiety. So we brought this into an app, Andy. So there's a Foojan app, which people can get it from the
Hmm.
Google Play or Apple Store. And we have 31 areas of life, your relationship with career, with finances, with your intimate relationship, with marriages, with sexuality, children, every area that you could even imagine, pets, any area that you can imagine. You can go through this process as a self-help model, really become aware, go through the process as people have done in all of our research. In the app, we've noticed, because we do a pre-test and a post-test, like as they come into the app, we'll look at, answer these questions, and then after they go through the process, they answer the same questions again. And we've seen between 70 to 75% improvement, even with doing one of the processes. So it's really effective for people. Also, we created a closed, not open, but a closed AI chat pod, which is only trained in awareness integration. So, for example, I don't know, like 12 o'clock at midnight, you're thinking about something and you just got into a fight with your mother or a friend or your husband or wife, and then you come back and, open the app and ask Mira, her name is Mira, the chatbot, and you could ask the Mira some question. How do I handle this issue? And then Mira will actually give you answers from the awareness integration therapy because it's actually trained on that. So we've had astonishing
Oh,
results of
right.
questions. that people ask and it responds, and it responds, will give you suggestions, will give you reflective questions to look at. And my husband was interesting. He went to his barber, and his barber was talking about some of the issues that he's had with his son, a teenage son. And my husband said, "Here, go check out a Foojan app and go ask this question from Mira, which is the chatbot." So the next time he went, he says he was tearing up. He says, you can't believe. After 2 years, I've had the best relationship with my son because I followed what Mira was telling me, and I went in and kind of conversed exactly the way Mira told me to have a conversation with my teenager son. And now we're going, to baseball together, and he really wants to spend time with me. So it's amazing how we brought this theory, which we could use in more clinical setting where people need it and they need to be with someone and go deeper and look at, passing the trauma. But you can also have it as a self-help now. So we're bringing that internationally. I'm Andy training psychotherapists and life coaches across the world. We have places now in Dubai. We have in Romania. We have in Paris. I teach in the Paris University. I teach California State University, Long Beach. So we're bringing this into all of the institutions and to be able to teach, professionals in order how to bring that to the world, and the world can access it through Foojan app.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. The future sounds bright, and I'm sure it is something that a lot of people can look forward to with regards to the Fujian app. So we have come to the end of this wonderful and engaging episode entitled Get Anxiety Off Your Way with Dr. Foojan Zeine. And for the past 2 minutes or so, you have been seeing her information, her hashtag handles on social media accounts going across the screen, so you can make contact with her if you need her services, if you need her to speak, if you need to get in contact with her with regards to any of her publications. Intentional parenting, of course, I sort of look to, because I think that one of the main concerns about this world is parenting. It's a challenges that I see a lot of people are facing with today. But Dr. Fujan has the answers, and she can help you and assist you in making better decisions about your parenting life and the things that you face on a day to day basis. So, we have come to the end. We have to leave, but we're saying now for you to continue, just remember the three watchwords: intentionality, clarity, and purpose. Bye for now. Until next time. Take care, folks.